Welcome back. This is probably the most fabulous session, or probably the marquee session of the Bangalore BizLit Fest, the second edition. Somebody had earlier remarked that India grows at night. India grows at night when our politicians are sleeping, when our bureaucrats are sleeping. Our entrepreneurs, micro-entrepreneurs, are finding solutions for the most difficult problems in India, while the real India is sleeping. It is these entrepreneurs who are finding solutions for our infrastructural problems, traffic problems. And today we have two very eminent and distinguished speakers, Professor Guha and Professor Gupta, with us, who would speak about how these micro-entrepreneurs are solving the problems of environment, climate change. As you would know, Professor Guha was referred to as one of the world's most influential intellectuals by the Prospect magazine. Times magazine called him Indian democracy's preeminent chronicler. Historian and biographer, author of the best-selling books India After Gandhi, which was referred to as the Book of the Year by The Economist and Book of the Decade by Times of India. He has taught at Yale and Stanford and the London School of Economics as a professor of history and international relations. Professor Guha. Professor Anil K. Gupta, professor at the Center for Management in Agriculture at the IIM Ahmedabad. He's a founder of the Honeybee Network and the member of the governing board of IIM Ahmedabad PhD. He promotes actively the grassroots innovation, linking informal ideas and informal sector to the formal sector and creating knowledge networks. I've in fact had a brief stint with you at the Karnataka Knowledge Commission when I was connected to you by Professor Rajneesh Goyal. Welcome to you, sir. And over to you.
Thank you. A small clarification. We are really here to discuss Anil Gupta's wonderful new book, Grassroots Innovation. Minds on the margin are not marginal minds. I'll repeat that. Minds on the margin are not marginal minds. And we may touch incidentally on questions of environment and climate change, a subject that concerns both of us. His book ranges much more widely than that, and not just his book, his work over many decades is about an extraordinary range of issues dealing with grassroots innovation, of which environmental sustainability is only one, though an important one. Let me begin with a quote from the great Berkeley economist George Akerlof, who once said, if you show an economist something that works in practice, he will say, all right, but does it work in theory? All right. Now, Anil's work over many decades is showing how things work in practice, regardless of whether they work in theory or not. He was trained as an agricultural scientist and geneticist in Hisar, and then did a PhD in management in Kurukshetra, has worked at the IIM Ahmedabad for many years, and has founded the Honeybee Network, which you know of, the Innovation Foundation Gyan, as also Srishti. And his book, Grassroots Innovation, really is a distillation of more than 4 decades of work and interpretation across India. There's an astonishing range of examples in this book. To read this book is to come face to face with the creativity of many minds on the margins, who, as Anil shows, are not marginal minds. But it's also to acquaint oneself, and in some cases to re-acquaint oneself, with the amazing diversity of India. I think Anil has walked this land as very few people have. I mean, there are a couple like Anil. I think of my esteemed colleague Madhav Gadgil, the ecologist. I think of the great Himalayan scholar Shekhar Pathak, who has stepped every valley of the Himalayas. But Anil belongs to a very select group of Indians who know this country by walking through it, not by flying over it. Right? And this book reflects his journeys through India. And through his journeys and his understandings and his work and his interpretation, we come to really recognize the extraordinary diversity of India. A diversity that is ecological, cultural, ethnic, culinary, technological, and much more. This book is partly based on a concept which Anil pioneered called the Shodh Yatra. Shodh Yatra, as inspired by but distinct from the Padayatra, which is a walking tour that Gandhiji undertook principally to promote communal harmony. And the Shodh Yatra is a research visit, walking through the countryside to interpret agricultural systems, technological innovation, ways of life, ecologies. Something he's done with his students in the IIM. There are 29 Shodh Yatras in that? 37 Shodh Yatras across different parts of India. And although the Shodh Yatra is particularly important in the kind of work he does and his students do, grassroots innovation, while reading his account of the Shodh Yatra as it's undertaken, I was reminded of the great historian Mark Bloch, who once said, historians work in the archives. They look, their essential mode of research is not fieldwork, but looking at documents and archives from past centuries. And Mark Bloch once said that historians think they need thicker notebooks, but they actually also need stouter boots. They need to walk through the landscape of the countries they are studying. And the Shodh Yatra is something which not just the anthropologist or the grassroots innovator, but even the historian or the novelist or the travel writer needs to acquaint himself with. This conversation is purely unscripted. Anil has not seen my questions. Based on my reading of his book, I am going to ask him a few questions which he will respond to, and after which we will throw it open to the audience. So my first question, Anil, I quote you where you write, agricultural scientists have seldom tried to learn from people first before sharing new knowledge or practices. I repeat, agricultural scientists have seldom tried to learn from people first before sharing new knowledge or practices. They take, and now I'm paraphrasing you, not quoting you directly, they take science from the laboratory to the land, treating both the land and the people as blank slates on which their technology is applied. Now this is true not just of agricultural scientists, it's true of forestry scientists, of fishery scientists, of experts on pastoralism or irrigation. Now, in the 30 odd years you've been working in the field, is this changing? Is there now more understanding of the kind of innovation that you have documented? Are agricultural scientists still treating both the land and the people as blank slates?
Thank you, Ram, for setting the stage for this dialogue. There is a change. There is a change in 3 or 4 different segments of our society, and let's begin with the scientists. Every year, we take about 200 technologies developed by farmers, organizations, and commissions of scientists. We have the National Innovation Foundation had an agreement with CSIR, National Scientific Research, with the Indian Council of Medical Research, and with ICR. Vishnu Tirasi, that was the last science class.
Which one? Agriculture.
So it is true that agriculture scientists took longer than the industrial scientists and the medical scientists to take on board the knowledge system of our country in the science. That's what it is. But the fact is that even before the formal agreement, we would insist on the relation and valuation. There's a lot of debate in our network on why should formal scientists be required to validate when something works. In some sense it is true, but also because the awards that our good president gave onwards, we wanted that nobody should raise an issue about the validity and sanctity of these awards, which the president of the country gives. So therefore, getting formal science and technology on board will be useful. Disregarding the fact that sometimes they might restate what farmers may have done, but maybe with more scientific. So they have been helping us. They have been helping us in every single case for validity and valuation. But the fact remains that many times the characters that farmers find interesting may escape. I will give an example. In 1988, there was an international congress on plant physiology and plant chemistry. My dear friend of Sinha, who used to be director of IRI, chair of the farm farmers. And he requested me to bring several or 8 farmer leaders who developed new varieties and got up with their big scientists. Though the farmer fellowship I were developed a groundnut variety. And in this groundnut variety, the most interesting characteristic was that the pod did not have ridges. After moving into groundnut, so if you have peanut, what is called? There are ridges on the pod. Now this man noticed 2 special characteristics of this variety. One, that this pod did not have deep ridges, so soil did not get attached. And since it is a modified stem, the way it is connected to the plant, that kind of very strong, very strong. So when you took it out from the ground, not many pods were left in the ground. So cost of labor to dig out the ground was reduced. Now that's an interesting point. For labor, for farmer to collect all the fallen or dropped down pods, the labor, it's a cost. This variety saw that problem. Now this never happened. Science. In English Act, which is the English Center, they never look at this character. The region of the pod is not mentioned even today in the descriptors of groundnut, the parameters on which scientists should do breeding. It's not mentioned. So the question is that when he was talking, scientists were listening to him.
Where was he from? This farmer?
And he noticed a few plants, he called them Morga because it's also additive like a common. So that's the name he gave it. Now this character, you can reject it on the yield basis. That no, it's not hybrid, it is as good as Jack. But the fact that it brings a new character was noteworthy. So I would say that right way back in India, the curiosity of the scientists was being ignited that they could be farms with regard to character. I'll mention another example from Bangladesh. I don't think it's 1996. We were walking in Tangai, along my dear friend, one of the scientists there. And there is a lady who was, I mentioned that ago, she was de-rooting these sweet potato vines. Now there are poor people who can't afford to eat even rice. You know. So if they get some land on these and that, less than about 60% in the country. Then they grow the nursery of sweet potato, and if they get land on these, they will cut the vine into small pieces and plant it as a means of getting it from. So there are many roots on the node. She was removing most of them and leaving 1 or 2. So I asked the scientist, why is she doing that? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. So we sat down beside her and asked, why are you doing this? Now look at the answer she gave actually for me. What she said was, you know, if I leave all the roots, then the sweet potato will be long. Customers like long. Second, if I take them to the market, the wrong ones, their skin is thin. They don't last for long. I have to sell them even if I don't get good price. The wrong one have a thicker skin. They last. Their shelf life is longer. I can bring them back and take them next time to market. Now here is a woman who has looked at the customer preference, looked at the market uncertainty, factored that into a design of technology. International Center of Technology had that equally on that. So what I'm saying is that the people are capable of identifying those characters in a crop or livestock that it is maybe or trees are the example of forestry, which scientists will miss. Let me take the case of forestry because Ram has done so much work in the early years and we all respect that work that he did with Guha and others. There is one person, Suraram Sikar, Rajasthan. Now most of the plantation take place during monsoon. He asked a simple question. Why is the survival rate of seedlings in forestry department so low? Because they plant it in the monsoon season. What happens in monsoon season? The moisture is in the upper layer of soil. When you plant a seedling has no need to send the roots deep. When the upper layer of the soil dries up, the roots dry up, seedling dies. He said, no, I will not do that. He plowed the land where planting has to be done, let the moisture go down. In the month of October, when the rain is over, he will open a small pit, just a fruit size, I mean just about palm size. Not 1 foot by 1 foot as the first embodied does. And grow the seedling and give only 1 liter water once. Now the seedling has no choice but to take moisture which is subsoil, which is under water. Before that you can do laddering so that all the capillaries are broken, not letting the moisture come out. This seedling catches up the next month. This is a regulatory. Change the principle of plantation. Change the principle of plantation. Reduce the cost. Because when you dig a pit only 4 inch by 4 inch by 1 foot or 6 8 inches, you are not spending as much labor as you would 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. So what I'm saying is the scientists slowly are beginning to understand and to share that farmers, because the farmers and workers, being so close to the ground, can observe characteristics, can observe nature in a manner that they can develop technologies which are more lasting, less costly, more sustainable than what the scientists do. So they are beginning to understand.
Look, you mentioned ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, and my sense is that this reciprocal exchange of knowledge that you talk about, which you document and say much more should happen. Maybe one sphere in which it has happened is healthcare. You know, I was recently reading some of what Gandhi wrote on medicine. Now, Gandhi had a very interesting attitude towards medicine. I mean, as towards many things. He started off as a critic of modern medicine and sort of focusing on nature cure and such things like that. Then, when he had 2 life-saving operations, one for piles, not life-saving, but certainly pain-reducing, and one life-saving appendicitis, when he had to be touched from Yaravada Jail Hospital, he changed this. Then he started studying it, and he said, look, these guys, maybe they only work for money, but they bring scientific research and experimentation what they do. And Ayurvedic doctors went say, oh, 1000 saal pehle aisa hota tha, you know. So he was actually very critical of Ayurveda. Now, what was interesting is that at this, say 30 years ago, I come from a family of doctors, so there's some personal anecdotal experience informing me. 30 years ago, the Ayurveda, the Ved, was like Gandhi said, frozen in his old books and what the Guruji had told him. The modern doctor had contempt for alternate medicine, whether it be Ayurveda, yoga, you know, and now that is changing. On both sides it's changing. The Ayurveda is learning the importance of validation experimentation, and the modern doctor knows that yoga and Ayurveda can help in ways in which it can't. So would you agree that healthcare is one area in which we've made most progress in this reciprocal exchange of knowledge?
I'm skeptical.
Okay, good.
I know how far we have to go.
Good.
We have made a small progress, but I think I'll give you 2 or 3 examples. Even in Jharkhand, and in one of the villages, we were sitting in a veranda in a school, and a midwife was very angry, narrating her experiences. She said, look at these children who I have given birth to this village. None of them had spectacles. Of course, she saw my spectacles, she saw my people with spectacles. And she said, these are much braver children than the children which are born in the hospital. I said, why? She said, 2 principles. A child, the infant, the fetus in the womb for 9 months is in a dark chamber. When you have a little in the lateral floor, the child will begins his life, she begins the life, he feels. Second, the umbilical cord should not be cut liters per second, because it is still drawing the nutrient from her. You try to cut it immediately and give a shock of life to that kid. So that is covered, that kid has big eyes because he is being given birth in light environment. Now look at this.
Very interesting.
You know, you can understand the science of it. It is with great reluctance that the medical profession is beginning to realize now that yes, the umbilical cord should be cut only after pulsation and the cord has reduced so that the child is still connected to the mother, joint nutrition program. There are many such examples where, take another example, 60% women in Gujarat are eating and for the national consumption. Now I can't do the problem. And many of you sitting here, maybe friends who understand that there is no reason why any one of you should be eating it. The traditional answer was cooking some vegetable in iron vessel, or using the ladle which on the iron. That would have enough iron. Now you have all stick, non-stick iron. So there is no way iron is going into the body apart from the biological means, but other than that you don't need it much. But the simple way of getting iron in the body by cooking it in iron vessel. Now with the real speed, If only one vessel would be of iron, we will make our girls, our daughters, our sisters, our descendants, all of them healthier. They will concentrate better on studies. Their performance will improve. Just a simple answer. I mean, I'm talking to America. Okay. She's on board. Most likely it will happen. But it did not happen for a long time. Give you examples of healthcare, simple principles, which have not yet become part of public policy. But which are very, very true. Charles, a University of Graduate student in Cambodia, made a small fish of cast iron. One small fish of about 120 grams, less than that, 75, 80 grams, the maximum 120 grams, will give enough iron to a family of 5 for 5 years. And they are still hesitating because they are not yet able to understand. Basic science, it's called corporate science, not a rocket science, it's a very simple science. So, healthcare, you know, Dr. Our friend in Mexico, we are his. Sudarshan had found.
He worked with Adivasis for many years.
Sudarshan worked for Florida tribals for years, and he found something very interesting. Many years ago, he was in the United States that place. That when tribal woman gives birth to a child, she holds the rope and in a squatting position delivers the child. Now, the squatting position is very comfortable for mother. But all our delivery tables are horizontal, 180 degrees. That is a very uncomfortable posture. Every mother suffers a pain that their biological science is imposing on that woman. Why? When she can be so much lighter, so much better, and it means much less pain. Why are we burdening our mothers with that pain? So there is a great deal of learning to take place. That's what I'm saying now. That there is, I agree that they may have come on board with you, but one more example. A small teacher. We also work on network research, education innovations, technological innovations, institutional innovations, common knowledge, and cultural things, all of them. So we have a large database, mathematical research, and then put it together for as teachers as transformers for about more than 15,000 teachers from government schools have done wonderful innovations. Mind you, 43% children in Gujarat and 40% children between age 1 to 5 are malnutrition. Very solid statistics about our country. So what one teacher did, he asked children to bring one handful of grains, pulses, grain, water. He soaked them in the water and slaughtered them in the school. Fed his cow like not one penny from outside. Getting one handful of grains from the parents, soaking them, sprouting them, feeding back to children. Problem solved. Sometimes problems are much simpler than what we make them. And our children suffer for no reason. And then these children, because they are malnourished, as they grow harmless and fail, they are not able to persevere. Sometimes they fall sick very often. All those problems. I'm not saying this is the solution for all problems, but this is one of the solutions.
You know, you write in your book of the importance of Swanta Sukhaya, the pursuit of inner happiness. Reading your book, it seems that many of the innovators you profile innovate for inner happiness, not for material reward or personal fame. I mean, is this true, or is it too romantic of you to think and write like that? Have you faced that criticism? Surely they will take pride, they want respect. They may not want a patent and a lot of money, but they want respect. The awards that your foundation is giving them, do give them that. Or is it all about inner happiness?
I would say 90% of them, at least, didn't know a word about it. Did not care about what happens to that knowledge shared, and have not hesitated in letting other people know the answer. But they will not go around and talk about what they have done. Because our society, unfortunately, still censors somebody is telling out. So therefore, if you have done something great and if you talk about it, you don't somehow like this, can't put your hand. So you see a lot of innovators we found did not ever talk about what they had done. People even in their neighborhood, field farmers whose field were on 4 sides of that farm, where the revolution take place, did not know about it in many cases. So this is a paradox. That while they are willing to share, there are not many people willing to do. So that is also. But fact is that maybe partly because of our commitment to share back everything that we know, not because we acknowledge their identity or politician, the network. Not one, no, I don't know if not one. Maybe traditional knowledge holder, there are some who did not want to share. And we said, don't share, you have confidence in us. So that's your right, the way you want to share. But other than that, some leaders, for example. But other than that, most people never hesitate in telling us what they have done. And telling us the entire mechanical aspect. So I would say that large number of them are working with class context. Though some of them do want returns on that if possible. We filed more than 800 patents in our 90% plus findings. I will mention on the side more addition that patent lawyer or Charles Davis. So we have been able to mobilize, we have been able to prove that social and ethical capital actually can be converted to financial capital in this country. No scientist charges for his time, for those who are addition. No patent lawyer charges for his time for those who file anything. Our average cost is 3,000 rupees. Nobody will file less than 1.5 in the airport mandate. The US firm goes to the charges. The firm that now has acquired the partner, KNG, KNG is Costa, they don't charge us anything for filing. What we realized, however, was that patent law as evolved in West will not let us continue with this period of context. So we developed a concept, came up with the thesis of US and technology commons between. So people to people copying is allowed and encouraged. But people to firm through licensing, you can't ask right to community management. A culture which is grown by sharing must continue to share. If they are encouraged and allowed and encouraged. So we have put a patent law on its head. And we believe that this country should have a patent law of this kind, where inventors should have a choice in taking mark on the patent application. I don't mind if somebody for his own survival or their own survival wants to use my knowledge, जो हाथ से काम करता है उसको मेरी knowledge book मिलनी चाहिए. The knowledge, people who work with hands should get my knowledge. Those who have hired labor more than 5 or 10 or 20 and who are commercially involved in business should be. So I think this notion that people, I don't say that people don't want returns.
Respect, recognition.
Respect, recognition, and reward are important. But let me ask ourselves the question: why should people who are most generous remain poor? The question I ask. But it's strange one. Those who are generous will remain poor. Those who are greedy will become rich. What kind of society are we creating? Why do we want to promote in our society? So generosity of the people, because they share openly, should not be, they shouldn't be shortchanged.
There is an honest admission somewhere halfway through your book where you say the role of women in grassroots innovation has remained rather obscure. Now this is of course true in many fields, not just grassroots innovation, but I'd like to reflect on this, that the role of women has remained rather obscure.
Yeah, this is something which I did a lot of research on both in the field of neurology, how our minds are wired, and also in the field of practice. And I was at the editor of the book when she was going to the ground. Asked me a question, sir, here you're making an assertion, we need evidence. And therefore I had to do a lot of research further at the time of second or third draft of the book. And I'll tell you what I want. What I did was really was the following. I said the dresses that women wore in our country, for 1,000 years, did not have pockets. The dresses that women wore, sari, salwar kameez, did not have pockets. The men's dresses had pockets. So when we took rest, we could separate our moments of reflection from action. Exception being the human being and the class, who were, while mending shoes, Kavidas could compose him. Kavi, while reading prose, could compose a poem. But I understand why in that poem. Because they had something that women had to create. What women did when they were having their leisure time, and I described that before, they were do knitting, breaking seeds, crochet work, something or the other, and were not idle, even at the time when they were depressed. So it gave me a notion that women have tremendous connection between action and reflection. And I was trying to answer the question, why do they have intuition and why do they have creative experience? So it appeared that women are so creative that they tend to put a lot of their energy in coping with a mistake rather than confronting it. Incidentally, in our culture, they were denied access to blacksmithing and carpentry tools. Women were not allowed to become carpenter and were not allowed to become blacksmith, exception being Ramada, nomadics and nomadic. That's all the exception. There is no exception. You will never find a woman carpenter and you will never find a woman blacksmith. So even if they had ideas to craft tools and gadgets for solving their tragedies, reducing their tragedy, they didn't have means to do that. Cultural things. Historical. Since they were so good in coping, they adjusted with all the limitation of the tools and techniques that they had. So when we lift a vessel of milk from the flame, आज भी हम थोड़े जो करते हैं इसको 10,000 साल हो गए. 250 million women of this country cook food on a stove which was designed 10,000 years ago. 3 पत्थर रखे थे आदि मानव ने, and आग जलाई थी. आज वही चूल्हा है. The combustion efficiency of wood is 14%. A normal stove of kerosene has 26%. And I say one maybe have 46%. The maximum units of petroleum has achieved is 65%. Now look at the gap between 65% and the 14%. If you improve it double, she has to walk half the distance to 35. Right? Why did it happen? So there are 3 things that happen. One, they think that women do have had the slowest technological change in the history of our life. And what? Auto Stanley wrote a very interesting book, other than Daughters of Invention. One of the least appreciated book, other than Daughters of Invention. She spent 30 years in US office. Look at 200 years later, and found the share of women in 1980s, 2%. End of 90s, early 90s, 8%. So first of all, this problem of either neglect deliberately or masking the creativity of women is not just an Indian phenomenon, global, much more so in Africa. That's one. So it is not true that they are not creative. On the other hand, 1898 writes a book, Munnar Mahasagar, 2018 recipes for self-employment. 7 years before Gandhiji talked about Rishi, she had written a book on that. 2018 practices. So much before any network came on the scene. She may not have mentioned the sources, that's a different point. At that time, it was culture. But we have recorded such case. We published this book and also considered Munnar Mahasagar, 2018 practices for self-employment. There were women of that time in our country who were pioneers and who knew the value of taking the best practices wherever they are available and making it available to society. It is said that 1,000 copies were sold in 3 days. And it is said in here. So women can be, they are very critical when it comes to things that are under their control, child rearing, health, clothes, food, culinary creativity. No 2 women cook the same dish alike. I wish men could say anything about that. There is nothing that we can say about it. No 2 women will wear the same dress any time. Man will find many in the similar dress, but not women. So even mother and her daughter-in-law or mother and her daughter will not cook the same dal in the same manner. When you eat the dal on the table, you will find out whenever I eat that. They put their life, they put their signature of creativity on their life. True? That's what I So it is not that they are not creative, don't get me wrong, but because they were denied it to, their agency was stifled by institutional structures of our society. Now I come to the last idea. Ravi Verma from IIT Delhi, professor in University of Penn, Virginia of Neurology. I saw her work and I then talked to her and she said, I'm not going to give the interpretation that you are going to give in the book, but I'll tell you the science. What is science? She did advanced MRI of men and women brain. And she found something very interesting. The men had much more connection in the front part of the brain than the back side. Women had much more on the left side than the right side. makes sense. From what I'm describing of the years of history, of evolutionary history, it made sense that they made correction in left. I mean, to me, that was apparent from the fact that they never kept their action and reaction separate. But it is now neurologically established that they have this uncanny ability to see things through a logic that may not be able to articulate what we call as intuition, which is like as a mother. Or maybe this is not that intuitive power that they have. So I have argued that first, there is no harm in if you feminize the science. If men will acquire the ability by combining the acts of doing things and also that people do more, those who did, like Ravi, Ibrahim and others, did develop it. So it is not that men cannot acquire it, it is an acquirement. So there is a task to be done here, there is a lifestyle change to be brought here, there is a way of thinking that needs to be done. But it is true that men, in our database, though we have many awards, but they are shared less than 8 to 10%. We are very guilty about it, we are very sad about it. And the reason, as I explained to you, is that now that they are completed, but they are not given opportunity to fabricate and design things. But in many cases, there are good examples that they have solved problems.
So far, I think we've talked about the sociology and culture of innovation at the grassroots. But I want to now move to the macro level and pose a question of institutional capacity. You mentioned how the National Innovation Foundation, in its initial phases, was given vital help by, you mentioned several people, I'm going to name two, E.A.S. Sarma and Vijay Kelkar. Now, I would like to say a little bit about these two people to the younger Indians in the audience. E.A.S. Sarma and Vijay Kelkar are two of the most remarkable public servants in the history of independent India, and they are as self-effacing as any innovators Anil has documented. No one has written their biographies. But they are, I would say that from 47 to today, 70 years, they will be two of the 10 most remarkable public servants India has produced. Now, E.A.S. Sarma had a PhD in physics and then joined the IAS and worked on many things from the range from atomic energy to Adivasi rights. Vijay Kelkar had a degree in engineering and a PhD in economics. And of course worked in petroleum, steel, finance commission. Their combination of intelligence, integrity, vision, empathy, patriotism, it's absolutely वैसे 3-4 और लोग होंगे हमारे इतिहास में, 10 से ज़्यादा तो नहीं है, 10 से ज़्यादा तो नहीं. Now, what I want to ask you, Anil, this is a question. It is serendipity and luck. Are there any Sarmas and Kelkars anymore in our state in Bombay? I'm not being a cynic. I want to go. I want to push you on this. You were lucky to get them, and I have a further question. But there's something about declining state capacity today that our government is not able to attract, or if they are able to attract, not able to retain the kind of public servants of vision, intellect, and integrity like Sarma.
I'm more optimistic. Okay. And the reason is very simple, that we have every year a festival of innovation and national most event festival. Next year, March 4th, is the festival again. And this festival of innovation has inclusion of classroom innovation, of this college student, award leadership student, innovation award. And we introduced last year onwards, we were on public service innovation in public service. Because very clearly, and all said and done, ultimately, when it comes to scaling and embedding these innovations, we will need help of the system. So we thought that we can align in this process, and we started looking for them systematically. During the 13th Finance Commission, I had prepared a note, which I mentioned in the book, about the first time in the country, district innovation fund was created in every district, 1 crore rupees, and that money was actually released to many states. So guidelines were very cumbersome, they did not fly as much as they should have. But first time in the history of this country, thanks to Dr. Kelkar, who was chairing the 13th Finance Commission, fund was created. Not as a website reference, it will be more about. And I wrote a note on that. We did it very well, Mr. Venupal, Reddy, who was the governor of the bank and Chief Secretary of Andhra Pradesh, happened to be in the room of later when we discussed this. And he had some ideas where he had tried last mile. So then it just happened that everything fell in place and this policy was accepted. There are people who are, I tell you one director of the thought, recognize that you use generic medicine, generic blanket or generic medicine. The same budget that you have in the district health can go at least 2 to 3 times more than branded drugs. Qualified they are not right. After all, the entire manufacturing sector in drug in our country makes all its 100% profit from generics. There is hardly any money. So it is not that they have not been tested by they have the highest number of FDA approved manufacturing in the drug sector. So this man did that. Now this got scaled up in Rajasthan. So Rajasthan started acquiring only generic medicine for its public health. Tamil Nadu does that, and other states as well. So there are some examples where people want to do it. In 1992, I did Journal of Healthcare Academy, IAS officer, another officers. Modern times, Uganda was elected at that time, another officer at that time, the pandemic. So here Uganda, who happens to be the father of Narela, was a great bureaucrat. So he once invited me to my academy. He said, look, you have done innovations in other fields, why don't you get innovations in education? So I'll give one example. Earlier, we had to pay the road tax for our vehicle, 2-wheeler or 3-wheeler or 4-wheeler every year. So he, one of the officers made an analysis. He found that 3/4 of the revenue comes from 1/4 of the vehicle and return and buses. But 3/4 of the people who pay 1/3 of the revenue actually are elongating the queue and taking most of the time and getting hassle for themselves and for others. What a pass out they got it. You know what the policy today is? Once in a lifetime. Today we pay tax, road tax on the vehicle once in a lifetime. One officer in one state took this step which became the public policy. I have a number of examples where there are such people in today. You know, Tamil Nadu one collector had sent his daughter to primary school. He just put his daughter in primary school, government primary school. What a great thought. Today middle class has given up on government schools. Nobody said, none of you sitting here will send your children to a government school. We all studied government schools at that time. They were supposed to be government schools. They didn't operate that. So if middle class is about environment activity, state will take interest in that. That's the problem. So there are officers who are taking such measures. Maybe the mentors for them are fewer. E.S. Sharma, Kelkar mentored many more. So in that sense, they are beacon of light, and Dr. Kelkar, as you rightly mentioned, is such an uncluttered mind. This table is fine, everything is clean. Another keep too many tables with him. Quickly disposes of. He has been on our board. He still is on our board of NIS, represent government of India. We had a structural board, so we said, DST wanted to put a nominee on our board, Science and Technology. And they said, why not Dr. Kelkar? Dr. Kelkar represents the government of India on our board. So he occupies the government position. But that's an interesting way of drawing upon the caliber of such people. So, yes, there are officers of this kind, and I would wish that we study a little more about innovations brought about by individuals, and individuals can make a difference. This, unfortunately, is not taught a great deal in our management schools, business schools. That is unfortunate, because we don't realize what the consequences of not teaching that is. The consequences, we lose our agency. We have autonomy, but we don't have agency. And I think this is one of the purposes of my book, that we all have agency. We can bring about change, no matter how cynical, how depressive the environment may be. There is a possibility of bringing about change. I'll give you a small example. We two children did a workshop, something on which I'm going to spend the next 10 years, 30 years or so. Children are amazing. They can do, there are other examples also in this book. So one girl, she from Islam near Nizamudin, came to this workshop. She gave a simple idea that every lunch box should have a sticker, wash your hands before eating. When you open the lunch box, wash your hands after. I told this to my sister. She wrote it to pass on others. Her manufacturer के लिए obligatory कर दो. every lunch box should carry this statutory advice. This is statutory farming. Can you imagine what a difference it can make to the microbial load in the hand of children? 60% diseases are bottom on, nail, weight, this समय आते हैं, और वहीं पे problem समझ आएगी. Chili, little girl, in the Islam of Nizamuddin would have a different consequence. Impossible. Yeah, impossible. And it was possible yesterday, and it will be possible tomorrow. I think our students and our scholars should appreciate that while there is a lot of system that needs systemic change, but there is no substitute to intelligence.
So, as you can have already discovered, Anil is among other things a wonderful storyteller. So his stories have multiple meanings: philosophical, cultural, institutional, political, technical, scientific. So I'm going to end our conversation before we open it out by asking you a couple of stories. First, tell the story of how Honeybee and Gyan brought Assamese irrigation innovators to Gujarat. Who were they?
Better sand and Mushkar. That's Murigaon, not too far from Guha, had a small valley. And they wanted to irrigate it, but they only had a hand pump. Now with hand pump, if you do manually, it takes a long time. So they made a windmill, which powered through a level here. And वो घूमते थे and वो खुद चलाएगा पानी खेत में. There are a lot of soil workers in Gujarat who have to pump water with a counterpoint of the neuro technology or the neuro technology. A long pole on one side and rope on the other side with a bucket. You need two people. One who will pull the rope down with the bucket, pull it up, pour the water in a channel. Other man, the more generally women will do that. Man will have to take this water to the salt tank. Lot of time, learning at the salt tank. So we thought that why not we can design, bring a windmill to pump water and make the life of salt water. That's nice. So we invited both of them. And mind you, they had made it with the bamboos. So the cost was not made. They made it, but in the hush, they started. The wind velocity is higher, so we had to make that higher. We just covered more. And this windmill worked. Now there are two lessons I have argued that you can learn from innovations at architectural level, at analogical, metaphorical level, at heuristic level, and at system. Four levels that you can learn. Architectural is windmill to windmill. Analogic is metaphorical. And heuristic is what I'm going to come to now. So there were two very interesting heuristics that emerged from this. One, that when they designed this, they asked the question, does paddy field bother whether water comes temporarily or in this course? The hand pump is a single one. And if you look at paddy field at the bottom, does it matter whether you irrigate it fast or slow? Actually it does. Slower irrigation means less leaching of nutrients. Less energy but less leaching of nutrients. 3 दिन में अगर खेत भरेगा तो बेहतर है बजाय 4 घंटे भरने. There's no need. You don't need to use our excess energy. Fill the field fast, leach all the lot of nutrients, and get less and productive quality of water and use more water. Because more evaporation losses. So first heuristic was that uniform flow is not better than irregular flow. Now this can be applied to industrial plant, boiler, and many other places where we have the flow dynamics study, fluid dynamics study, and make huge investment in making sure that the drop of whatever compound we are mixing in the boiler is uniformly dropped. Some plant irregular flow in an educated environment of boiling liquid will be much better. So uniform flow is not always better. Irregular flow, faster irrigation is not always better than slow irrigation. So higher throughput, higher output per unit of time is not always good. There are cases where slow is better. And in this case, irrigation, slow is better. So this example that I'm mentioning is that it has implications. for solving the problem at the but it has also implications for our changing our way of thinking and the usage of innovation. The last sector in corporate sector as well.
So the second story I wanted to tell is actually it's a very charming story. It's maybe the one of the few stories in the book that doesn't have a concrete application in terms of innovation or efficiency or conservation or production, but it's a delightful story. This is the story of a temple to a dog in Karnataka. It is a temple to a dog in Karnataka, and Anil will tell you about that.
So both this Karnataka and
But since we are meeting in Karnataka, we should talk about that.
So what happens? What happens is there are only two temples in the country. Two dogs. What is it? So how did this temple come about? And the reason I am showing is that how society celebrates seemingly trivial but very profound insights about daily life. So this dog had been given by the owner to a person who had given him that but could not replace it. He said, "Mera kuta nahi." So he took the dog. And one day the new owner had a theft in his house. And when the owner discovered it, the dog had actually helped him to locate the place where the thieves had buried the goods. So owner was very happy. He said, "Now let me liberate this dog from the slavery or from bondage and let him go back to work." Kaagaz bandha uske gale mein, I am liberating this, I am freeing him from the bondage. Today onwards, he is a free dog. Going back. When it was coming closer to the village, the original owner felt very bad. He had asked him to go and serve that new master. Why is the dog coming back? He was not supposed to come back. He has betrayed my trust. All the training that I gave him went to the dogs. So he killed him. But he killed him. He found a piece of paper in his hand, where it was written. The owner had written, "I am liberating him and freeing him from the burden of bondage because he has served me so well." This man felt very guilty. That he had not betrayed. Actually, he had been wanted. उसने वो टेम्पल बनाया. उसके There is a lake nearby. And it is sad that when people have skin diseases, they live the lake. They get clear all about it. I don't care about that part. But the fact is that it's an amazing story about how an individual celebrates the commitment of a dog to the master under a condition of deprivation and bondage because of the debt that he had given back. Such celebration in this country need more and more happening in our consciousness because that shows that we can learn from animals, we can learn from birds, we can learn from squirrels, we can learn from ants, we can learn from all parts of our life. And that makes us so humble and that should make us so sahaj, spontaneous and humane. It's a burden that we have all to carry in our heart that we have not been so fair to animals, so fair to the other life forms. We talk about our accountability to humans, but not about non-human sentient beings. Whereas in this country, there is a small temple for snakes in the farms, you know. वो दूध पीता नहीं है सांप, लेकिन वो तरीका है क्या सांप हो जाओ, तो सांप head of the बच्चे, the सांप is there, all the. So there are many ways in which this country celebrates the beings. हमारे यहाँ हमने study किया चबूतरे पर I mentioned this. We did a study of bird feeding platforms, and we found that regions where drought used to occur, not had the highest number of bird feeding. जहाँ खुद के खाने के लिए नहीं था, वहाँ चीजों को खिलाते हैं. Wherever there was prosperity, central Gujarat and South Gujarat, bird feeding platforms are found. So it's a very strange culture that because the respect for nature and for the birds, in regions where there is scarcity for food for humans, and we have of course such many parts of the country, but I would say that there is a lesson in this. So I wanted that our creativity and innovation agenda should not be situated in too narrow sense of utilitarian logic. There is a larger worldview. There is a larger worldview in which these innovations happen to take place, but then it is not just in the things that are reciprocated by the people, but also non-reciprocal exchanges contribute a lot. And I think if our life becomes less reciprocal and we do little more asymmetrical changes for the better good, for the creation of public good.
Well, that's been absolutely wonderful and stimulating. I think we should first give Anil a round of applause. We deserve a larger round of applause for the end. But any questions? I think, is there a mic going on? One second, wait for a minute. Is there a mic? You're supposed to one more mic? No, there's supposed to be one more mic. Somewhere. Just check. Is there another mic? One more mic. Yeah, just
Somebody can phone it.
one second. Okay, you take this. So I get it back. I'll call someone back. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Pass the mic. I'll call him.
Sir, this is Pawan Soni, PhD student at IIM Bangalore. So my question is that while intrinsic motivation has been the primary driver for most people at the grassroots, isn't that the same intrinsic motivation disabled these innovations from becoming scalable and non-person dependent? Because I have been following, and I'm a great fan of your work for many years, sir. And innovations which have very successfully been adopted in Rajasthan, and the same people in Gujarat and other nearby areas are not having access to that. So isn't it required that the start is intrinsic motivation, but for the purpose of scaling it up and making it available to people, extrinsic motivations are equally important? And secondly, are these one-off incidences, or do Indians really have the capability of improvising and bricolage? Is it something unique to India, or is it just a state of our economic development? These are two questions.
First of all, first of all, the long tail of innovation, which I'm sure you have read about, implies that not every innovation should scale up. Should scale. Scale should not become enemy of sustainability. What is scale? Everywhere, one crop. Everywhere, same variety. That is scale. Death of biodiversity. Scale is enemy of, can become enemy of sustainability. There are niches. We were walking Shodhyatra in Assam, Dhimaji. Dhimaji, incidentally, is the place where Ulfa was born. And we have walked in all the so-called insurgency-prone region of the country, deliberately, without security and without protection, because we wanted to understand why our young people are angry. Now, Dhimaji has about 29 different streams, none of them have a bridge. So you can imagine in rains what happened there. Their water has very high iron content. The filters that we have would not work there. But if somebody manufactures a filter, drawing upon the traditional knowledge of the place, it might only sell about 10,000 to 20,000 pieces. Or say maximum say 50,000 pieces. Will any company invest in a filter which total demand is 50,000? No. So then what should happen? Those people should remain disenfranchised from the water filter market, because that's not a scale. Do you imagine the consequence of the scalar thinking of mind? It disenfranchises large number of our niche-based needs of our society, unmet needs of our society, because the markets will not meet those needs in the current level of evaluation of profits and viability. We need to create incentive, I agree with you. That's the second part. That we must create incentive, public policy incentives for people to manufacture for small scale. I'm not saying manufacture by small scale, but manufacture at a small scale. We will need to develop modular technologies by which you can assemble them, maybe do it yourself or whatever other thing that gets possible, where only 10,000 or 20,000 pieces of them will be required. There are a large number of such examples. One most telling example is, you know that, Ram, better than anybody else here in this room, that the entire so-called minor forest produce is brought out of the forest as raw material. Not 1 gram of it is valorized in the forest. In situ value addition is zero today. All nuts, all the everything is brought out from the forest unprocessed. No surprise that the wages of the people are very low, because they are only collecting. So गरीबी तो रहेगी ना वहाँ पर. You have perpetuated poverty in the most difficult regions by preventing value addition in situ. ठीक है ना? So therefore scale need not always be the criteria for evaluation of innovation. But I agree that we must bring the corporate sector. My problem is, and I'm going to say something which might not be of liking to many of you, the multinational corporations. In the last 3-4 years, more multinational companies have come to us to discuss how they can use these innovations and take them forward than Indian companies. The Indian companies characteristically lack hunger for innovation. We talk about open innovation everywhere else in the world. How many Indian companies are willing to seek innovations with the proper agreements, protecting the intellectual property right of the people? So I am passing a judgment. I am being very harsh, but I can tell you with our experience, because we have the largest database of innovation, both by students in techpedia.search.org and from informal sector at NIT.org. And it is on the web, so nobody can say that they're not aware of it. How many? So there is a problem here. There is a problem here that it is, while we may be not very efficient in reaching out, but there is also a problem on the other side. I'm just saying. We are of course inefficient in this regard, I must admit. But on the other side, the corporate sector is not as hungry. Once I went to Guha, which is the capital, cycle capital of the world. So Mr. Munjal had invited me. So I made a presentation. I took specially focus on cycle-based innovation. Now imagine cycles as they are manufactured in our country and millions of people use them cycle. No design change has taken place in the last 60 years, basically. So we have cycles which can be used for pumping water, cycle which can be used for spraying, cycle which can be used as a small workshop, drilling and making holes, and all kinds of things. A lot of innovation. So after everybody liked the presentation, at the dinner time, Mr. and Mrs. Munjal was sitting there. And I said, I'm intrigued by one thing. You didn't ask me which of these innovations are you going to take for scaling up. You know what he said? He said, Professor Gupta, we are doing very fine. So if you are doing fine, why should you take innovations? अगर आपकी साइकिल बिगड़ रही है बिना डिजाइन के इम्प्रूवमेंट के, why should you make design improvement? Now this is the mindset. This is the mindset of corporate sector. अगर चीजें बिक रही हैं, if you are getting good profits, why innovate? ये कोई तरीका है? And I'm not saying that they are so super profit that they should not be innovative. Every company can grow and develop new lines of production and products and services. नहीं किया तो आज आपको ग्राइंडर पे अगर दूध मिल्क शेक बनाना है, गरीब आदमी को भी मन करता है ना बच्चों का कभी जब हम मिल्क शेक पी लें, बाजार से खरीद नहीं सकते हैं, तो वो साइकिल के ऊपर पिवट नहीं जिसके ऊपर वो ग्राइंडर मिक्सर रखकर साइकिल चलाएगा, उसमें ग्राइंडर चल जाएगा, वो सलाद नहीं बना सकता. You understand? It's a small innovation, very small innovation. We have the technology for that. It's not a big technology after all, but we don't have it. So therefore, it is not the lack of scalable ideas, but it is the lack of hunger on the part of manufacturers. Take those ideas, incorporate them, give some benefit back to people, and that's it.
Yeah, actually, I have two questions. My name is Prof. I'm an entrepreneur. The first question, Mr. Gupta, is that it's actually disconcerting because what you're essentially saying is we had basic MFs that actually solve our needs and our problems in a very sustainable way, and we are actually abandoning them over a period of time. In a way that's actually disconcerting because we figure small things, simple things that really work over thousands of years and very well, and we seem to be abandoning away. So my question is, what is the fundamental thing that's driving this abandoning? Because it seems to be happening across India on a scale that is, probably disconcerting for all of us. And the second question is, we do have nationalism spoken about in such fervor that we actually had such great things inside are not the narrative of nationalism that we are seeing, but something that's actually trivial and artificial is the narrative of nationalism that we are seeing. So to me, both seem very interconnected, right? There seems to be something really disconcerting that's happening to us as individuals, as society, at a fundamental level, right? So what is this that is really, really driving this, which is so disconcerting? Because I'm actually a superior society, and I'm actually pushing myself towards something else. So where is this coming from? It's coming from nationalism, by the way. So is this something that's actually, in a way that's really, I was asking fundamentally, where is this coming from?
I will be more eclectic because I'm trying to frame the answer in a manner that doesn't hurt too many people. First of all, it is not something that is only happening in the last 3 years. It has been happening for 60 years, 65, 67 years. So let us not give too much credit or blame to any one regime of governance in this country. K.M. Munshi, 1952, Food and Agriculture Minister, gave a lecture to the Governing Board of Indian Council of Agriculture Research. And the title of the lecture was Gospel of Dirty Hand. There's a book compiling these lectures. And this man, a great writer, novelist, thinker, what he says, only time when my granddaughter dirties her hand is with the leaking fountain pen. Us zamane mein pen use karte the. Fountain pen. Because she never works with her hand, there are enough servants at home. People who don't work with their hand, and he's being self-critical, talking about his granddaughter, will not understand the plight of people who work with their hands. Usme Ford Foundation was pushing the concept of extension. He said extension means enlargement. How prophetic. He said this will lead to a bureaucratic structure in the country. This is not the way to connect with the communities. Create land army. Land army. 1979 Karnataka mein land army corporation bani thi Fernandez ke time par. But the seed of the land army was set up. Bhusena in 1952. The first unit of land army, the unemployed youth, were taken to clear the Chhatapur drain. Their university students again. Now look at this man. He has a different vision. He made 3 circles. Hydrological cycle, nutrient cycle, village community in his lecture, one of the lectures. And he said these 3 are connected. He knew that if you don't have drainage, the water will accumulate in front of the poorest person's house in the village. Look at that understanding. How the micro and the macro, super macro is being, climate change ke baat karte hain. But let's understand how the drainage is managed and where does the ganda pani, the wastewater accumulate in front of the house of the poorest person in the village. Because that person cannot raise the level of the street behind his house. Uski himmat nahi hoti. The richer people, the affluent caste, will make sure that the water drains near his house. That is the only place he is allowed to live there. Now, 1952, we had 2013-14, the new policy for innovation had to be designed. We brought people, pardon me for saying that, who had never written a paper on publication, on innovation. हमारे स्टूडेंट हैं वो पुराने वो बात अलग है. हार्वर्ड से लाए. यार इनोवेशन पॉलिसी बनानी है तो जो लोग काम कर रहे हैं, देश में बहुत सारे लोग काम कर रहे हैं, उनसे बात कर लो. यू कैन एटलीस्ट लिसन टू दैट. क्या बुराई है इसमें? देयर इज नो हार्म. दो लेटर ऑन आई स्पेंट टाइम विद Panagriya and both Amitabh and explained to them that look, if you want really to build upon, there's a legacy. There are a lot of things that have been happening. Whatever is good, build upon it. Whatever is bad, change it. And something good they have done. For all these years, we used to have a program where children used to offer a model in their exhibition, science exhibition. They used to buy these models and learn at an early age to claim something as their own which was not theirs. Science exhibition ke through pure country, her district mein, children were taught to present something in the science exhibition and used to get money under the Inspire, 5,000 rupees, 16 lakh schools. The whole ethical infrastructure was broken down. Thankfully, in the last 2 years, government has stopped. 200 crore rupees market or 200 to 500 rupees crore market of selling projects to children has been disbanded. Now, NIF is working with the government to see that 2 ideas from every school will be taken out. 10 lakh ideas will be coming out, and then they will be shortlisted and so on. So there are both kinds of things happening. The practices which were debilitating our ability to imagine and innovate have been discontinued, some of them, some are continuing. When it comes to traditional knowledge, we also have tradition of killing the fetus. I can't describe to you the practices that we have in our database, which we will never share with anybody, of how creative, unfortunately, sinisterly, in a sinister manner, women are the grandmothers and the mother-in-laws, and sometimes mothers, in killing the fetus. You cannot imagine. So there is also tradition. Do we want that tradition to continue? No. So within traditional knowledge, there are parts which are very debilitating, dehumanizing, and I would say absolutely immoral, which must not be continued. But there are also parts like the one iron vessel, which must be continued. So this is not a struggle of today. This is not a struggle of, this is a struggle of last 67 years, post-independent country, where we are not recognizing that there are things which are time-tested, which are functional, which are scientific. And there should be no hesitation in popularizing them. As against practices which are reprehensible and should be done away with. So this is a larger question. I will not link it with just governments. I think it's a question of all of us. All of us I'm not taking water in the plastic bottle because I don't think I should contribute to this loss. But this bottle is not required here, actually, if you ask me honestly. We're adding to the same problem that we're talking about. अपने घर से बोतल लाओ या तो पानी पिलाओ शीशे के अंदर. शीशे की बोतल को साफ करके रख लो, अगली बार फिर से सर्कुलेट कर दो उसको. This is a tactic that we should follow more and more. I stopped doing that. Few years ago, it occurred to me that I am contributing to the problem. This is hypocritical. I have no authenticity and moral right to comment on anything sustainable if my practices are of that kind. मैंने बंद कर दिया प्लास्टिक की बोतल को तब तक मजबूरी नहीं है. So I think there are we should ask these questions to ourselves. I don't think it is useful to blame government or blame larger society when something as simple as my own conduct comes to the picture.
Hello, sir. My name is Sajid. I have actually two questions. The first question is regarding, I'm really intrigued, what is your question?
Only 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Someone else waiting for a long time.
Yes, sir.
One question.
Yeah. What is your take on the requirement for GM green job in a country like India? Especially, I'm intrigued.
Let me answer this quickly.
Yeah.
The workers who spray pesticide, and I mentioned in the book, don't use any safety gear. Don't use any safety gear. My commitment is to the poorest people, that is the working class. Anything which saves them from the sprays of chemical pesticides is good. Very simple, unequivocal answer. I am not hesitant in standing by GM cotton or GM brinjal if it saves the workers of my country and improve productivity at the same time.
In terms of biodiversity,
There are bigger dangers. The hybrids do the same damage to the biodiversity that GM doesn't contribute anything extra. The hybrids, and there are a lot of indigenous hybrids, and there is no protest. Can you imagine? There is no protest against chemical pesticide and unsafe use of chemical pesticide. एक होर्डिंग नहीं मिलेगा आपको ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन रीजन में, कर्नाटका में, उत्तर प्रदेश में, पंजाब में, गुजरात में, हरियाणा में, जहाँ पर सेफ वे ऑफ स्प्रेइंग पेस्टिसाइड दिखाया, कहीं नहीं मिलेगा. Of course, companies will put a small. नहीं, वहाँ तो वो यूज नहीं कर रहे, वो अलग बात है. They have not used, that's a different matter. But where you use and safe way of using pesticide, there is not a single hoarding. But there is no protest against that. In this country, show me who are protesting against the chemical pesticides which are banned in Europe being used here. There is a greater political economy of this struggle. And we should understand the dynamics of this struggle. This is not as simple as biodiversity, non-biodiversity. There are many more drivers of reducing biodiversity which we are aligned.
Last question.
please go ahead.
Hello, sir. This question has a more of a personal angle. Whenever I call my mother, I'm working in Bangalore. My mother lives in a small town, Nasik, Maharashtra. Whenever I call her, she has her stories about a kitchen garden. Saying I grew this today and I made a vegetable of this. And she says that I don't know what to get in this big city of you. Whether is it good? Are the fruits grown in carbide and sprayed with pesticides? I don't know what you are getting in. So I just got a thought that these kitchen gardens grown by every person in his home. I mean, all these ladies and all the elder women here can relate to it. Is this the future of these cities that we may not get access to homegrown and nutrient filled foodstuffs and food items? So these kitchen gardens are the future for the cities tomorrow. Do you see any?
I am a great supporter of small scale farming, of kitchen gardening, because that is also therapeutic. Not only that, whatever quantity it may give is a different matter, but when you do things with your hand in the soil, it's very therapeutic. It connects your soul and soil together. It is very helpful. It makes us come to the ground. You touch ground every day, even if you're in a multi-story building, you can still grow a few plants, and the children of your family, when they see these plants growing, they get a wonderful understanding of nature. So there's a great value in this. And I'm happy that you observed this and you're feeling this way, but just don't feel. There's a chapter in this book, knowing, feeling, and doing. If you know so much, feel about this much, you actually do it.
Want to ask questions, but I think Professor Gupta is here for
to
get hold of it and one-to-one, buy his book. And thank you again very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're all welcome to join the network. It's very simple. Just volunteer, just what you do, and we need all of this. This is the next session. 2 o'clock. Okay.
5 minutes, please. Thank you very much. Are you guys enjoying the session? Yes? So we have another short session. We would take